So, here we are. Welcome. So there were a few cheeky characters in the bar last night, and they wanted me to ask you, is meta-search dead? But given that the theme of the conference is Renaissance, better, smarter, we're not going to go there. We're going to start with a scene-setting question. Tell me one thing that you see in the future of meta-search. John, start with you.
Well, I think in general, meta-search is certainly not like on its return. I think it has the best time ever. The most important reason is when you look at COVID, customers were really searching a lot and they were trying to figure out where to go and what to do. And what we also saw is actually you see more and more people just not searching for a flight, but they want to do a hotel first and then a flight, or they want to do a car first and then a flight. And I was actually intrigued by the marketplace for RVs. So I think what you're going to see is that there's going to be more and more choice. That's not going to be defined with one entry point. There's going to be more and more entry points. And actually there are going to be different platforms to support the traveler. So what we got to do is we got to, as a Skyscanner, we got to make sure that we enable that choice, that we help travelers to find the right thing, but also we got to connect into these other marketplaces because it's simply not possible to do it all on your own. And that's what a meta search is all about. It's bringing people together, travelers together, and bring them to providers like flight, like hotel, like car, but perhaps even at some point a tour operator or an RV marketplace or what have you. So I think lots of opportunities out there.
That sounds kind of like a product vision, but is there anything kind of more, innovation coming, would you say?
I believe that is very hard to do. So as innovation, I would say there's different layers. And we just had the conversation with Google about data. For a player like us, it's not just data, but it is the innovation, understanding what the traveler is looking for. Because people come 1, 2, 3 times a year, so they're not going to build up a big profile. So we got to get them to log in. But if they don't log in, we have to be in a contextual environment. And that contextual environment combined with showing what they're looking for and figuring that out, I think that's where a lot of innovation will happen.
Okay. Axel, what's your kind of one thing that you see in the future of meta-search?
Yeah, so just to build on what has just been said, meta-search is basically a combination of two things. One, it helps the end user to compare, and currently the main value add is price. Yeah? So everybody wants to save money, but there are obviously a lot more use cases where comparison could make sense. I mean, like in particular for staycation, Wi-Fi speed is something that you can compare. There are a lot of things, and there I do expect a lot more innovation, also fueled by some of the regulatory developments that should lead to more innovation and more competition on the consumer-facing side. The more interesting aspect from our perspective is that the pandemic has also shown us what the benefits of economies of scale actually are. So how much better is the product by having more scale, being faster, fresher prices, fresher data, etc. So there we do expect more of a decoupling of the integrated business model into more consumer-facing and business-facing model, and more consolidation on the one hand and on the one side, and less consolidation on the other.
Okay. John, you said it was hard to innovate in meta-search. Why is it hard?
Well, because a meta, like let's say 20 years ago, has been built on a customer comes in, we connect it with a partner, and it's typically one product. It's whether it's a flight or a hotel. So it's basically comes in, find a partner, find a great price, hand them off to the partner. Well, now you have customers. When you look, for example, during COVID, our COVID map was viewed 40 million times. So people are really searching and trying to figure out what to do. And then they might start with a hotel or with a car because they can only do road trips because they can't fly. So the behavior has changed. So our technology is now built that it's actually product agnostic. It's driven by what the traveler is looking for. I'll give you another example. Like in France, the government has decided, like when the flight's too short, you have to take the train. So we need to know when somebody's searching in France or arriving in France and connecting in France that we're going to shift from flight to rail. The technology needs to enable that. Otherwise, you have only like a third of the solution or half of the solution. Another very complex thing is that the good thing is like half our users are now logged in, so that's helpful. But the ones that are not logged in, we really need to understand what they're looking for. So let's say when I'm a business traveler, I search for, let's say, Amsterdam, Chicago, Monday morning outbound, Wednesday afternoon back, or I go to the Phocuswright conference. I could be the same person, but searching for a holiday trip, and I could be searching Friday outbound, and 3 weeks later, Monday back, because I want to have lower fares. Now, I'm the same person, so I might think as a meta, hey, that's the same customer, but actually it's two behaviors, and we'll have two different results, where one of them is more price sensitive, the other one is more time sensitive, and the other one is, and on the one hand, they could be more of a package customer that says, I want to have a flight, a hotel, a car, whereas when I'm a business traveler, I just want to get in and out, and I want to have like a limo, and I want to go to the office and come back home as quickly as possible. So there's a lot of complexity in that behavior of the traveler. We really need to understand the traveler, get them the best offer, and it's not as simple as it was before.
Okay. Direct booking, big trend in the pandemic. How is that affecting your business, and do you see that remaining?
Yeah, so indeed we have seen as under recovery of matter, I mean, this summer, and that's for a couple of reasons. I mean, one is obviously in times of high uncertainty, there is a benefit of going directly to the property or directly to the booking counterparty, the OTA. From our perspective, the bigger driver has actually been the destination mix. Yeah? So the benefit of comparing prices and comparing different offers is greatest if you're going to big metropolitan cities, and the big metropolitan cities have significantly underperformed in the recovery so far. I mean, for those of you that have been to New York in the last couple of weeks, I mean, you can see it. It's not the same vibe. There are not as many people. Travel restrictions are still quite severe. And we do think that next year things will normalize, and also the normal mix of travel will come back. And yeah, people still want to save money, that's for sure. And what has been a headwind so far will be a tailwind next year.
And you've said, excuse me, you've said publicly that you think it'll be kind of around springtime. But if consumers continue to seek that kind of reassurance direct from the hotel, if the OTAs are investing heavily in their own branding, what happens to metasearch? Kind of squeezed between.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more the sentiment that we are in. So just take this hotel today. Yeah, so it might have been a good idea to call up the hotel before and say, okay, what is actually open? What facilities are open? Is breakfast open, etc.? What kind of experience will I expect when getting there? Is the gym open, etc.? That will go away. I mean, that's currently fading away in the US, I guess, and in Europe it's still, I mean, let's see what winter brings, so there's still a bit of uncertainty, but once we are in a situation where life is more or less normal, that information need is not there anymore, and that reassurance is not there anymore.
John, do you feel caught between a sort of rock OTA and a hard place, which is Google?
No, not caught between. I think there's three types of customers. There's an airline customer, there's an OTA customer, and there's sort of the meta customer in the middle. And the meta customer in the middle is an explorer. They do a lot of research on our site. And we've been helping during COVID, we've been helping the traveler to do that research with like, where can you go? That's why the map was so successful. But also at some point, we were like within the number 10 position on Google search pages, right up there with like newspapers. So we had become like an information provider. And what we see now is, coming out of COVID, the second the destination opens up, we see those behaviors, those sticky customers, let's call it like that, translating into more bookings. So we've been able, during COVID, to help the customers, the travelers, and now it's translating into more bookings. And the other thing we've seen is that, as I mentioned, this flexibility in choice, because, yes, especially also, for example, sustainability is on the rise again. We see 70% of the travelers saying like they prefer a sustainable choice, and 1 out of our 4 bookings, when a sustainable choice is offered, 1 out of 4 travelers make that choice. So making that all visible on our site is helping in our relationship with the traveler. And therefore we see our position actually grow. Another interesting thing is that life has not been easy for OTAs, online travel agents, during COVID because of all the cancellations. So they had their struggles as well. So I think we've all been fighting hard to come through this crisis, and I feel comfortable we've done the right thing for the traveler, which now translates into bookings.
Just to interrupt you there, you're talking about doing the right thing for the traveller, because your predecessor launched a platform a couple of years back, and it was about the multi-options for the consumer to book. How has that gone for you? Is one bit more popular? Are they equally kind of popular with consumers? How's that gone?
Yeah, so people don't know my history, but I ran a media business in Microsoft, MSN, Hotmail Messenger, and then I ran an online travel agent. So I know both worlds. Skyscanner is a referral platform. It's a meta. It's transitioning into a marketplace because there's more product involved, so more travelers coming to different products. But at the core, we are a referral business. We did launch an initiative, direct booking, which enables airlines to give a better experience to their travelers, but the ticket is still issued by the airline. The third thing you talk about is basically Skyscanner becoming an OTA.
Yeah.
And that has developed into, I would call it a test environment. So we have a small part of our business that helps us test, like, for example, the value of our brand, or the value of a product, or the value of service. And we can bring that knowledge back into the ecosystem. The vast majority of our business is the referral business. A relatively small part is a direct booking, and I would call the test environment a minor part of the business.
Okay. Axel, for you, the OTAs are kind of power meta-search users. You know, where do you sit? Because you haven't kind of gone all in with direct booking. I know you've adjusted your model in terms of cost per acquisition for smaller players, but you know, what do you do when you're caught between OTA, Google?
Yeah, I mean, caught in between sounds very negative. I mean, I think one thing that is very important in running any business is to know where you add value. And we are, I mean, also a meta business, and we are adding value by delivering a product that helps users to compare very, very efficiently and very quickly prices and availabilities across all different options. That's what we do. And that is one step in between. So whoever has been on our site is more qualified, so knows already the price structure in the market, knows what other offers are available, and so is more likely to book when hitting the OTA's website. And I think that's okay. Yeah? So we, of course, work very, very closely with our OTAs, with our hotel chain partners. But they should do what they are good at, running hotels and running online travel agencies, and we focus on the comparison element.
So what you're describing there about enabling consumers to compare products very quickly, how does that fit in as sort of one-stop booking shop type environment, or even a super app environment?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's obviously one big theory coming out of Asia, that users want everything in one product. And there for sure there are customer segments that want everything out of one product, but in particular the meta-search core user is very price conscious, and it's like going to the high street. If you want to buy everything in one shop, then you don't tend to get the best price all the time. When you're price conscious, you tend to walk around and go to multiple shops. So I don't think it's really a contradiction. There are users that are more convenience focused, and there are users that are more focused on really getting the best deal, and that's our core user group.
Do you think, John, that in Europe we've gone past the potential for having a super app?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's talk about it. I think it would be a challenge to get to that, to have enough scale in Europe to build one super app. So I'm with Axel. I think there's customers that prefer some simplicity and convenience. Those are like OTA customers. I think there's customers that are more explorers. They search and they try to find stuff. Those are like meta customers. And then there is I call it the airline customers, that more the loyal, one brand, build up a point base. I believe strongly in collaboration in this industry. So we understand the traveler. We got to figure out what they want, and then we got to connect our networks to build like the product the traveler needs. And it could be that we we provide 3 or 4 things ourselves. We could connect in through our app network, for example, another provider for things we don't deliver. So, for example, during COVID, we through our app network, we showed, for example, where people could get tested, or we showed like how they could get like a COVID insurance. So, based on the context of COVID, we were quickly able to provide that product to the traveler because we knew there was a need of the traveler. I think that's you could call that even a super app, whatever you want to call it. Like, is that something you need to install on your phone and it has everything baked in, or is it like an open network that lets people participate based on what the needs of the traveler is? And I strongly believe is that if we figure out what the need of the traveler is, and we'll still be like predominantly air because that's those are our roots, but we will build a network around it for that sort of air-related traveler, and we will let as many people in as possible that provide value to that traveler and provide them with the right products that they need at a certain moment.
Getting to the needs of those travellers, I mean, that's going to require a lot of data and knowing how to use that data. Now, I wanted to come on to talk about the Digital Markets Act in Europe, because I know you have quite strong feelings about the implications, and that's where the data play is going to feed in again, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the Digital Markets Act, I think, is one of the most important pieces of legislation for the digital economy, I mean, perhaps ever, yeah? But for sure in the last 10, 15 years. And I think it's very, very likely that it will get passed soon, beginning of next year. And if you look at the current state of the document and the act, it will ensure much, much fairer competition, and it will abolish certain misconduct that is currently hindering innovation and hindering competition, and particularly on the consumer-facing side. So, from our perspective, very positive for the consumer and also for the digital economy.
And you see it as so significant and so impactful. Why exactly?
Oh, the key difference to the existing antitrust laws is, I mean, just look at Google Shopping. Yeah? So it has taken absolutely forever. I think there has been a wide consensus that there was some misconduct, but you can challenge in a court over and over and over again. And we are all living and breathing digital competition. Yeah? So if it takes 5 to 10 years, then half of the companies are not existent anymore. And the key difference in the Digital Markets Act is that it's more, it's not an anti or a competition law, but it's more a market access law. So it's ex ante, so it just defines the rules of the game to participate in a market. So it is effective immediately, which is taking that time element completely out of the equation.
So from your perspective, more of a level playing field. John, do you have a view on its significance? Yeah,
I think, I'm trying to focus my team really on what can we do for the traveler, how can we work with partners. But I'm with Axel that, we need to keep an eye on competitive behavior, because if there's not enough competition, it's just not good for consumers. The only thing I'm a bit surprised about is when you look at the way Google launched the product, it's funded by a massive business. And that doesn't feel right. And I think the law also tells you that's not okay. So I want to operate from my strength. I tell my team to operate from the strength, which is the traveler, which is the partner, which is the open system. So I'm not afraid, but for the future. But if people don't play by proper rules, I think it's not good for the industry. It's not good for the business, and it's hard to compete with free.
Because we're building back smarter, stronger, better, how much of a sense is that you have to, really build up your brand, your recognition again?
Well, we measure our brand, and we actually didn't go backward. The only thing we went backward in is that our strength is a bit more long haul than domestic. So for us, we were in the waiting, but profit is back, so that's good news. The brand is not. The brand has been strong, and we do actually see also that travelers are also going back to old values. So the anxiety around COVID is sort of fading away slowly, and we're putting a lot of effort in putting that ease back and that comfort back. And now we're seeing people coming back to sustainability, for example. And we've done a lot of work on sustainability also during COVID. We're actually one of the founders of Travelist, what Google just mentioned, and it's very nice to see that people are making those sustainable choices, also in their private lives in general, and we're starting to see coming back to normal, and our brand didn't get hurt. COVID is sort of starting to fade away, and we're very optimistic about the new themes about choice. Axel was talking about, like, great value for consumers, for travelers, and things like sustainability. Seeing that coming back is very nice.
Axel, would you like to be sitting in John's brand chair over there?
What do you mean?
In terms of, he says his branding hasn't really been hurt. Would you like to be sat in that position right now?
Yeah, I mean the good thing in the pandemic has been that there has been basically no brand advertisement. Yeah, so and when you look at branding theories, you build a brand, and as long as there is nobody outspending you, and then you actually keep brand recognition for quite some time. So on that, I absolutely agree. On the other hand, travel is the mass travel market is a market where consumers are just consuming the product once or twice a year. So the frequency is very low, which means that the brand recognition through usage is not as high as in other sectors. So I do think that there is opportunity to increase market share coming out of the pandemic by playing a good brand, well in brand marketing. But on the other hand, I also do think it is important to really invest into brand marketing coming out of the pandemic, because there has been very, very little usage of the core functionality of the product for quite some time, and that is an opportunity and a risk at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, to be honest, we're really pushing hard on the product side, because I strongly believe that the product is the marketing. And so really pushing to get the right product out there, to get the right advocates out there, the people that talk about your product, that are happy with using your product. I think that's for me the biggest bet. And to Axel's point, we got to be careful people haven't forgotten about our app, and they have to sort of brush it off because it's somewhere hidden now on screen 4 of their phone, while normally it was on screen 1. We got to get back to screen 1. I'm totally with you. But I strongly believe in pushing hard to make sure we do the right thing for the traveler, understand them, and they will be on screen 1.
A couple of quick answers, if you would, here. What's the biggest kind of challenge that your clients are coming, your customers are coming to you with currently?
I think if you say today, it's still anxiety and it's complexity. And the complexity is bigger than ever before. It was already the anxiety around, do I have the right flight? Do I have the best price? Do I have to log that in? Do I have to book now? Okay, is this the right hotel for me? The car, do I have to take insurance? Yes, no. And then add COVID into that. I just came from Amsterdam. I've done probably 50 PCRs going back and forth between Amsterdam and London last year. But now coming through London and figuring out for myself, and I got a whole team to figure that out. PCR, test, what forms, it's hard. So you have to make an effort. So we really have to make it simple for people to travel and take that anxiety out. That's the key thing. And
for your partners, what's the biggest challenge they're coming to you with?
So I think the biggest challenge is very similar. We are obviously only accommodation based, but the key issue is certainty of return and of a return that you're expecting. And there I see the majority of the burden actually on the governments, because they have actually hurt the predictability and the trust in traveling overall by introducing on very, very short notice travel restrictions, changing the regimes all the time, by having a completely, not completely random, but very, very complicated set of rules, no consistency, no alignment. And it is very complicated, and the return is actually the key thing that has been disturbed quite a few times in the last 1.5 years.
Okay. Just want to finish with a question for you, Axel. If you were to do a startup again, would it be MetaSearch?
Probably not, to be perfectly honest, because there are very, very good companies out there, like Skyscanner for flights, like Trivago for accommodation. As a startup, you need something that is radically new and where you can truly differentiate, and where basically your innovation is compensating for lack of economies of scale. And economies of scale are huge in MetaSearch, so it will be very, very difficult to enter the market with a startup today.
Okay. Axel, John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.